Good morning and welcome to another week of United Way for Southeastern Michigan's What's the Word Wednesday, where we share important resources and have vibrant discussions about the topics that matter to you. My name is Courtney Howell, and today we are honored to have community leaders of the Metro Detroit National Pan-Hellenic Council, also known as the Divine Nine, talk about their perspectives of the state of urban education and what their organizations are doing for the empowerment of young people in our region. At the start of the 20th century, when African Americans had minimal access to higher education, Black collegiate students sought the need to organize and better serve their community. When they were not allowed to join traditional fraternities and sororities, they took the charge to form their own to align with their mission. Founded at both historically Black colleges and universities, which is also known as HBCUs, and traditional universities, Black Greek letter organizations were created and formed under the collective umbrella known as the National Pan-Hellenic Council or the Divine Nine. Each of these organizations were established with unique core values, but shared a common goal to educate and uplift the Black community from racial inequities. The organizations include Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1906 at Cornell University. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, founded in 1908 at Howard University. Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1911 at Indiana University. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1911 at Howard University. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, founded in 1913 at Howard University. Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1914 at Howard University. Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, founded in 1920 at Howard University. Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, founded in 1922 at Butler University. And Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1963 at Morgan State University. A few reminders for today's discussion. We will take questions from the audience, so please put your questions in the chat box on Zoom or in the comment section if you're watching on Facebook. Closed captions are enabled in Zoom and Facebook Live. To turn them on, please click on the Show Caption button at the bottom of your screen. Today, we are joined by our panelists. Our first panelist is Elvin, who serves as Vice President of the Oak Park School Board. Al is also an active member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, where he serves as the 49th president of Gamma Lambda chapter, seated in Detroit. He's also a legal counsel for the Midwestern region, comprised of 12 US states and Canada. Al has worked in the health industry for many years, and he is also a licensed attorney in the state of Michigan. Al is an alumnus of Wayne State University, where he earned a bachelor's degree in journalism and a master's degree in communications. He also holds a Juris Doctorate and an MBA degrees from the University of Detroit Mercy, after earning both degrees from Wayne State University. Al spent time at Wayne State as an adjunct professor in the College of Fine and Performing and Communication Arts. As a communications professional, Al spent 9 years as a news reporter, writing for the Detroit News and the Oakland Press. We are also joined by Aaron Johnston. Aaron has been a part of the Detroit Public Schools Community District family for 23 years. He is currently an assistant principal at Man Learning Community. He attended Central State University and obtained his bachelor's degree in elementary education, master's degree in educational leadership, and an ed specialist degree in special education. He is an author of I Pray This Help, Intellectual Intelligence You Can Understand. He also enjoys outdoor activities, physical fitness, writing, and reading of the development of the mind, spirit, and body. He was initiated at the Alpha Mu chapter at Central State University in 1995. We also have a panelist who will be joining us momentarily. Our final panelist is Superintendent Stephen McGhee of Harper Woods School District, While at Alabama A&M, he was initiated in the Nu Epsilon chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated in 1985, and he is a current member of the Nu Omega graduate chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. McGhee graduated with his bachelor's from Alabama A&M and also holds a master's degree in education and an ed specialist certification in administration and organizational studies from Wayne State University. He is currently working on a doctoral degree in education. While an educator at Detroit Public Schools, McGhee was very active with the Young Men of Excellence, a male mentoring organization at Northwestern High School and Crockett Technical High School. He served as an instructor, football coach, assistant principal, and principal at both Osborne High School and Central High School. In 2017, he was elected to serve as a superintendent of Harper Woods School District, making him the first African-American to serve in this position in the history of the district. In a year's time, McGhee has accumulated many accolades, including establishing a new College and Career Institute center for students to receive upon graduating a high school diploma, certification in a trade, and a 2-year associate's degree. This was the first program of its kind for K-12 students in the state of Michigan that combines all 3 entities. Each of you, all of you, welcome. I really appreciate you all for being with us today. So before we talk to you all about your perspectives on urban education in Metro Detroit, I want each of you to take some time to talk about your organization and how youth in our communities can engage with your personal development and college preparedness initiatives. So first, I want to ask the question to Al, and then I'll turn it over to Aaron. So Al, again, thank you for being here. Can you tell us about your organization's national initiatives surrounding education?
Yes, I certainly can. Alpha Phi Alpha, just a little bit about us. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was established in 1906 at Cornell University. And if you think about the climate back then, you had 7 Black gentlemen who started our fraternity. And again, you think about that climate, that racial climate back then, where you had Black students who really had to work together in order to be successful in college and to graduate, to pass their classes and graduate. There weren't great opportunities for them to get mentorship or to get someone to help coach them as they went through that process. So we were founded on that basis. And so as such, we have a couple of national programs. There are 4 national programs for us, but 2 of which are focused really in the education and mentorship space. The first one is Project Alpha, which we use to train and teach young men about the roles of males in relationship with young women, as well as how to treat our young women in general. But the other one, which is more of an educational focus, is our Go to High School, Go to College national program. And so we spend a lot of time doing things to support that national program at the local level, which I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit. But those are the main 2 that we use, and I'm happy to get into those after you're ready for me to move forward with that part.
Absolutely. I do want to kind of go to your local programming, focusing on youth education. Can you talk about what there are, their impact, and how students can get involved?
I certainly can. So under the Go to High School, Go to College national program, we, one of the things that many of these organizations do is we all provide scholarships, right? But and we'll get to that. I know you'll have some questions around the scholarship. One of the things that we have seen is that, okay, so we do a lot to help those who are getting ready to matriculate into college, but what are we doing to help those at the middle school level where that help is pivotal, and also at the high school level? And so we have basically adopted, taken over, if you want, 2 schools in the city of Detroit that are K-8. And so we continue to do programming at both those. And just some of the things that we've done over the course of this past year is we have an incentive-based holiday shopping spree for students at both Dawson and Emerson schools. So making sure that they're doing something right in terms of their education, or either they're on the honor roll or the great citizenship, or just being a leader in the classroom, or a leader at the school. And so we took 140 students shopping, each giving them $100 to spend at a local Target this year. We provided meals to the families of those schools, around our Thanksgiving holiday in conjunction with Jive Turkeys Detroit. We provided meals for 100 families per school, to those two schools as well, because we know around the holidays, some families don't have enough money to feed the family. And so we did that. We continue once a month with our Men of Distinction to meet with a group of 20 to 30 young men, providing advice and information on the importance of academics and how to manage conflict. We took our students on a TV station tour at a local TV station so they can be exposed to careers in that industry. This is just our belief that if you can see it, you can be it. But if you don't see it, you don't even know it's available to you. So that's one of the things that we have done as well. We spend time also, we're actually working and refining how we want to manage this, but we are working on a ACT, SAT prep class for youngsters who cannot afford that, so, because those classes cost thousands of dollars, but we have people in our chapter who are more than willing to help and guide some of these young men and women who don't have those thousands of dollars to take those prep courses, to do it for free. So that's another thing that we're working on. One of the things we noticed too is our students coming to school with their clothes not clean. So we purchased a washer and dryer, because we just believe that there are so many barriers to succeeding in education, and it starts before you even hit the classroom. They're hungry, or their clothes aren't clean, and they're being ridiculed, things of that nature. So we've worked on that in conjunction with one of our young men. We started a library, or at least we furnished the school with a bookshelf full of books for its library. So those are just some of the things that we're doing in Gamma Lambda chapter to support the schools I named earlier, Dawson and Emerson schools. We'll get to some of the other stuff for the high school students a little bit later.
Thank you so much, Al. Those programs are so needed in our community, and I'm sure those families were very appreciative of all the work that you all do. I also wanted to talk about scholarships and funding for college. So according to the Michigan College Access Network's FAFSA tracker, as of January of 2023, only 25.2% of Michigan high school seniors completed their FAFSA form. So what scholarship opportunities is your chapter offering to help make college affordable for our children?
It's a good question, and I appreciate that. We know that it's important that our kids go to college, those who can. Of course, we also believe in them learning vocational having vocational opportunities as well as opportunities in the technical field. But for those who choose to go to college, we obviously push that with our Go to High School, Go to College national program. We provide scholarships on an annual basis. In fact, we're at that time right now. So it is time for anybody who is looking to apply for a scholarship to do so with our Gamma Lambda Education Foundation. And over the last 4 years, not in 2023, but the years prior, we have provided 87 scholarships worth $97,100 on these years just prior. So 2020, 21, and 22. And so we're going to continue doing that work. And we raise our own money, and we hold events. But the other important side of that is to, okay, you provided them with a few dollars, because we know how expensive college is. What are you doing after that? Well, we haven't forgotten about them. And so when they come back during the holiday season around December, Christmas time, we make sure that we connect with each one of them, to talk with them about what they've experienced. What are you experiencing? And we invite them back every year to talk about what you're experiencing. We also provide them with opportunities to connect with those brothers who are in the fields that these young men have chosen. And so we continue to try to put them first and foremost, even after they've gotten the money, to make sure that we're continuing to mentor them, continue to let them know okay that you didn't graduate in 4 years, or it's okay that you're not on track for 4 years, as long as you keep moving forward. So, but yes, the money is there, and we provide the money. But in addition to that, we're making sure we continue to wrap our arms around these young men and let them know that don't be discouraged because something didn't go right in your first year or your second year, or because you had to change your major. So, just because we give them the money, it's not just the money. It's also that opportunity. We also, in conjunction with that Gamma Lambda Education Foundation, provide those young men upon graduation from high school with an opportunity to get a tailored suit that it was gently used. And so it is tailored to them. So they'll have 2 of those coming out of high school: suit, tie, shirt.
That's amazing.
So that they can be prepared for any occasion that they need to be. They can be ready to interview when they need to. Because then some I'm learning now, some of our young men don't even know how to tie ties. And so, it's important that we provide them with that mentorship and prepare them for all aspects, no matter what they choose to do. So if you don't want to go to, you don't want to go to college and you choose to go into a vocational opportunity, you still need to get hired someplace. So let us make sure we take care of that, teach you how to dress, what to do. We make sure they go through mock interviews. We prepare them and all of those things. So those are the things that we're doing. And certainly the scholarships are there. As long as people continue to support the things that we do. We have a couple of fundraisers for that. Our golf outing is also one of the fundraisers for our scholarships as well. So we continue to do that work in conjunction with our Gamma Lambda Education Foundation, and happy to continue that on in 2023.
Al, thank you so much for this information. We already have some questions in the chat. I want to make sure we have enough time for other panelists to talk about their national and local initiatives. But if you want to learn more about Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, specifically what the Gamma Lambda chapter is doing and how to get your young men into their programs, please look at the chat. The link is detroitalphas.org. Al, thank you so much. We'll be right back to you with the conversation about the state of urban education. Next, I want to bring up Aaron Johnston from Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. Aaron, how are you?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Courtney, for having me here. I see Mr. Elvin and also Mr. McGhee. We worked together at Osborne together. How you doing?
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, yeah,
I love that.
So that's always about being cyclical. And it's an honor to be here. I'm Aaron Johnston of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1963, as Mr. Elvin was speaking. And it just made me, hit in my spirit of how I'm one of the blessed ones that, by being founded in 63, I had, real conversation in real time with our founders, some of our founders that were still here
Indeed.
with us. And with that being said, when you speak of Iota Phi Theta, you talk about 1963, we know that was during civil unrest. So in speaking with, even having that first in the last conversation with some of our founders, that the basis of Iota Phi Theta is because they wanted change. And again, you got to be a part of that change. That means you have to be the change. You just can't speak on it. So from Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, there's also been, those things where if you can see it, then that means you can be it. But for us as being men, like say being Mr. McGhee, Mr. Elvin, from the occupations we have, the skin, the melanin that we possess, that we have to be that example for young people so they can do those things. Because even when Mr. Elvin was speaking about, if they don't do well their first year, their second year, and I'm thinking my third year, because I graduated, thank you, Lord. So it comes down to, if you can honestly be in that space of doing more, you can be more. Because I am that living example. I am that miracle. Because as for all three of us, we come from different spaces and different places, even though we're all still brotherhood. It don't matter if it's brown, if it's black, if it's gold or purple, it don't matter. Because at the end of the day, when the world sees us, it depends on, like they say, how you see it is how you treat it. And many times I've been in a space where, by me being an educator, I've still been treated like I am the aggressor. In the space of, we talk about urban education, you talk about the world as a whole, and when we talk about building, communities, and Iota Phi Theta being in the space of helping young people, whether we connect with, being part of the NAACP, you talk about United Negro College Fund, and one of the things that I love for Iota Phi Theta, and I'm not going to be long because I know we want to get to the discussion, is called Project Image. And Project Image is in the space of like you say, what you talk about the I in image, when we know image is an abbreviation for imagination. If you can imagine it, you can be it. So it comes down to, because when we look at each other and we look at the world as a whole, that means we have to be in the space of, we talk about the image of how you see yourself, and what you tell yourself actually determines the course of your life. And that's when we talk about self-esteem, we talk about confidence, and we speak in the space of helping young people see that, we can't go by the world. Because if you go by the world, which is the culture will always beat you down when we talk about body shaming, when we talk about images of, the perfect body, the perfect mind, and that don't exist. So when we talk about understanding who you are and whose you are, you have to be in a complete space of understanding. We got to take children from where they are, because Mr. Elvin spoke to, it is so many tentacles, it is so many obstacles for our young people to overcome, especially in urban education, that many of them give up before they even understand they can. So we got to be in the space of helping young people when we talk about, no matter what it is or how it goes, that they can do it. Because again, I've lived it, I've been there. I'm a product of a single mother. She had me at 15, I went to Central State University, got the degree, so forth and so on. But I still had challenges despite of, all of those things. I might have been what they call the talented 10, but at the end of the day, you can't leave the 90 behind. So I just wanted to speak on that.
Aaron, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. And can you tell us about Project Image and how people can get involved?
Oh, well, you're talking about Project Image. If you go to alpha-gamma-omega.org, that's our local chapter for Detroit. Those are the things we do within the school. Like I'm here at Man Learning Community. That's one of the things we have, because again, before they even get to high school and middle school, we got to attack them young. Because when we talk about urban education, that when we speak to gaps in learning, when you add in COVID, you're talking about that gap became a Grand Canyon. So when we speak of image, it is hard for a student to say that they like what they see when they don't like what they see, because we can speak to it in a space of understanding that when you look at young people, because again, being in the elementary right now, being an assistant principal in elementary, I see so many young people giving up too early. And Project Image is an avenue where we're talking about, whether it's boys or girls, that we have to show them that they are kings and queens. Because at the end of the day, we have to teach them how to put their crown on when the world is trying to tell them to throw it in the gutter. That's a key. Because again, there's so many. It is like in a space, if I can put it in this analogy, where we have so many young people suffering that even though they have a smile on their face, they laughing, that it's trying to hold back a tsunami with water bags that don't go together. So we have to work together as a collective, even like Mr. McGhee, Mr. Elvin, we are men. So it doesn't matter what space, what place, we still got to collectively come together as a community. Like I say, even you, Ms. Courtney, being in that space, and we all take each individual talent and skill and we develop it to come together, because we got to come from a holistic approach, not just identifying this is the issue. Because again, if we're going to help the child, we got to help the parent. If we're going to help the parent, we got to help the community. If we're going to help the community, that's how we change the world. And we won't too often, we say we won't change without making adjustments.
Mr. Johnston, thank you so much for that information. Again, information on the Alpha Gamma Omega chapter of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity is in the chat. And I wanted to next shift it to Superintendent Stephen McGhee of Harperwood School District. Mr. McGhee, thank you so much for being able to join us today. I know it's been a busy Wednesday for everyone, but I thank you for coming on today. And we would love to learn about, one, we're talking about the Divine Nine organizations, and we're really wanting to talk about the national initiatives of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, and also what you and your local chapter are doing for the betterment of our youth in the community.
So I'll be speaking more so from an educator's standpoint. Currently, I serve as a superintendent of schools of the Harperwood School District. This is my 5th year as superintendent, the first African-American superintendent. And prior to that, I was principal at Central High School, Osborne, as well as McKenzie High School. I listened to both of the gentlemen that were speaking before me, and they are exactly right. I'm looking at it from an educational standpoint. all of the programming that I've put in place since I've been superintendent. We had a population of 1,468 students. Now we're a little bit over 2,800 within the last 5 years. We've implemented what we call Meta 24, which is a program at the 5th grade, 7th grade, and 9th grade. All those students have a business portfolio. We teach them the mindset of shifting from being a consumer of goods to a producer of goods. So they're learning about land acquisition, property, residential, commercial, industrial purchasing as well. We're infusing the Common Core state standards into all of their projects that they have on a daily basis. Each one of those students also have a checking and savings account as well. So some of the things we're talking about empowerment that we took with our fraternities and sororities, we're doing on a daily basis to plant those seeds of proper choice and success. In addition to that, in the fall, we're going to implement what we call the Opportunity Bridge, where we have the top 25 practitioners in the field of the state of Michigan will be team teaching with our teachers in terms of real estate brokerage, finance, transportation, logistics, that those students will be receiving certifications as well as a license out of those fields prior to them going off to college. So we have a synergy degree. They'll graduate with a high school diploma, a career pathway certification, as well as that certification to allow them to go out into a global society. And a lot of times in education, they don't use this word, but the word is capitalism. Our global society is based off of capitalism. The reason why brown children are continuously devalued and killed is because we as a people do not have a stake in the capitalistic market. If you look at Freakonomics, by 2053, they said the African-American culture will be a level above slavery. We own nothing. We own nothing. Our wealth gap within the household is about 10,800 average. Our counterparts is 178,000. Okay? So with all of the programming that we're talking about, all of the scholarships that we're talking about, it has to be rooted in education and it must be rooted in capitalism. We have to own something. That's the bottom line. And just like you said, it doesn't matter how many degrees we have. When we step out into the world, they see us another way. It doesn't matter. What has to be behind that is that of capitalism, ownership, shifting the mindset from being a consumer to a producer and making money while we sleep. And that's what I've shifted our entire curriculum to in Harper Woods, from elementary, middle to high school. That's where we are.
Mr. McGhee, that's very profound. And that's also a great transition to our urban education discussion. So I wanted to kind of open this first question. We're getting a lot of questions in the chat, which is great, to the three of you. And whoever can answer this first. The first question I want to ask, you're talking about capitalism, you're talking about the economics of our community. How important is federal and state funding in relation to the success of your schools and school districts? And that's open to.
I'll jump on that first. I know Mr. McGhee.
Yeah.
Hold up, Mr. McGhee. I know.
I'm gonna let you have it, Mr. Johnston. Go ahead, brother.
Well, it is vitally important because it actually the dollar value it determines, how you see yourself. Let me say this because when Mr. McGhee spoke about capitalism, we have to learn how to capitalize. But when we talk about urban education, when you talk about education as a whole, they don't teach money management. That's first and foremost, because when we talk about money management, when you talk about the dollar value, if you just stay in the space of general education, you're gonna have a general life. So when you speak to money as a whole, when you talk about capitalism, first we have to change the mindset of one, when you heard Mr. McGhee say, make money while you sleep. The first part of that is, how do we teach the next one how to make money in their sleep? Because many times when you speak about real estate, people don't understand that. When you talk about investments, when you talk about portfolios, things of that nature, our people don't understand that as a whole. Now, it's not saying that we don't have the resources, because we spend $8.9 billion where they talk about liquor, cigarettes, and Jordans. then we say we got the money, it's just misappropriated in the wrong aspect, in the wrong space. And when we talk about, you got 3 African-American men speaking on education right here, right now. It is 0.03% of African-American men in the field of education. That means that they do not see someone that looks like them. When we especially talk about our Black boys, because our Black boys, many times, they want to have a Black man and be in a space. And many times when we talk about how you look at it in education, and we talk about when you look at it in the community, we got to bridge the gap, because too often when males are missing from the household, and then they get to a school and come into a contact with a male, the first thing they want to do is challenge that male. I see it all the time, every day, all day. So it comes down to they see men, but they don't hear men. So we got to be in a space of putting ourselves in a position to teach our young people about the economics that we can grow from. But again, if it's not there, and we can send them to college all day, Mr. McGhee said it best. You can have a degree. A degree don't mean nothing but a piece of paper on the wall if you don't have the skill set to develop making money while you sleep.
I'd like to jump in on that point. So I serve as the school board president in Oak Park, where I live, and funding is extremely important. You start thinking about foundation grant dollars that it's the money that you get per student for every district. Every district gets foundation grant dollars in the state of Michigan for their students. And I've watched in recent years, at least, to see it at the very least, the governor we have right now has worked to increase those dollars. I believe in the last budget, they went up about $400 per student. That's extremely important to put that money in the classroom and for that money to be used directly on education, not for some, office furniture. I mean, if you're going to use it for furniture, buy new desks, buy new chairs for the students, buy items that the students are going to need so that they can have a top-notch quality education. And so that's important. Obviously, that money has to come from somewhere when it's coming from the state. It comes from the federal government. So, I mean, again, that's important. There are also, if you start talking about inner city schools, you got to keep the kids safe. And that's not just inner city. We've seen things go on in the suburbs as well, but you have to keep our students safe. Well, then, you start talking about how do we do that? These things cost money. Safety costs money. And if you're putting in, I know they have some schools will have metal detectors. I know now they have biometric scanners and readers, so they won't even know that they're there when they walk in the door. Those types of things cost money. And so in order to keep our kids safe, we need that kind of money. Those are grants. And so you need somebody in your district who can at least write grants to request grant money to get that type of stuff. So you're not using your general fund on things like safety when you can get additional dollars from the state or the federal government for that purpose. So those are, you talk about funding, you can't do anything without money. You can't keep the lights on without money. You can't, do I won't say preschool because it implies little children, but before school starts,
GSRP.
Feeding the children before the school starts for the day, giving them a snack at the end of the day because they may not get something when they get home, or giving them a hot breakfast when they arrive in the morning. Those things require funding. So it's pivotal. You can't operate without that type of stuff.
So everything that the gentleman stated are absolutely true. The program that you alluded to, president of the board, my alpha man, is the GSRP, Great Start Readiness Program. Yes, but funding is pivotal. We know that we have funding gaps that is not equitable, period. Harper Woods is next to Grosse Pointe, and it's probably a $6,000 difference per student, honestly. They have to come up with a formula that will allow a level of diversity, equity, and full inclusion for the state of Michigan. 1994, on the East Coast, Boston and some of the other cities and states along that East Coast, they came up with a formula that was much more equitable than Michigan, and Michigan declined and chose not to, and we're still paying that price. If we were not in the phase of ESSER dollars with COVID and the additional monies of $400 that we would be in much more of a fix than we are now. I stated we had 1,468 kids when I first came. Now it's 2,800. I've been fortunate to go out and grab students, you know, and that goes a lot along with programming, okay? But mind you, there has to be equity in funding, state and federal funds, and it can't just be based off property taxes, because we know the children that we serve and the families that they come from, those property taxes are not equitable to our counterparts. And even more so, it's a transient household at times that it's not ownership, they're renting, you know? So it makes a huge difference. Going back to what Mr. Johnston said and what I stated earlier about financial literacy is one thing. That's just a course, okay? It has to start at the elementary level where it has to become a mindset, okay? The mindset of being a producer of goods is totally opposite of being a consumer of goods, okay? And to recognize what the NASDAQ is, Standard and Poor's, know what the stock market is, know what an NFT is, a non-fungible token, what is a blockchain, how does the interest rate affect my credit cards, what is a FICO score? All these are basic things that the world is functioning on. But in addition to that, purchasing land early, land acquisition, residential, commercial, industrial. We're opening up our construction trades program in the fall, but the students that are in real estate and real estate brokerage will be selling the small homes that our kids produce in construction trades, small homes and container homes. And they're going to sell them to HBCUs, literally. The first two will be going to Alabama A&M University, my alma mater. But the students will get that percentage, okay? Even from a college student who graduates and they purchase one of the container homes and it's a dorm, whichever one at the end of their 4 year chooses to purchase it for $40,000, they have home ownership. And you can lift it and place it anywhere you want to place it. We, as Black men, as Black people, collectively, Divine Nine, we must plant the seeds of capitalism in our children. I can have a PhD. I have one of those. We all of us have these titles. But if we own nothing, they continue to treat us like nothing. Perfect example is with Kanye West. We know his situation. We know. But at the same time, you know, he talked about multiple things within the context of that conversation. So mind you, you know, we have to get to a point as a people that we have economic leverage to sit at the table and then create our own tables. That's what we have to do.
You know, gentlemen, it is so heartwarming to one, just see, you know, Black faces in education. And we have a lot of great comments uplifting each of you in the comments section. And I just want to thank you all. I have one more question. I really want to kind of transition this conversation to learning loss. How are schools addressing the staggering amount of learning loss students have experienced due to the pandemic? And how can families help at home?
Can I touch that? Because I have to go back into a state meeting now, deals with learning loss. So my focus for the last 5 years prior to COVID was on literacy and numeracy. We've infused literacy and numeracy coaches at all levels from kindergarten through the 11th grade, literacy and numeracy coaches. Smaller group instructional groups as well within the context of that to tackle the achievement gap losses within the context of that. But what I think the world has to understand, what parents have to understand, that 50% of literacy and numeracy is the household. It's a partnership. Mommy and daddy have to read the newspaper, okay? If you're not picking up a newspaper, pick up the phone and type in the Detroit News. Pull it up, read to your child, even if they're in the 8th grade, 10th grade, okay? It doesn't matter. Once they see you repetitiously reading, and you are asking questions and regurgitating the context of what you read, reading becomes important, okay? I can't put it any other way. We can have the reading specialists, math specialists, great teachers, but the partnership must be within the context of the household, and that's really the next plan for me, myself, is that through our 180 program, and that's our parent outreach, that we have reading sessions at multiple levels during the course of the month, that parents are reading, and they log those hours that they're reading to their children. That makes a huge difference. And the other thing is this curriculum relevance. I'm getting rid of 25 classrooms in the fall. I don't need any more desks. I don't need any more Common Core teachers. I need practitioners in the field that Common Core teachers will collaborate with, so we can infuse English, math, and science into the top professions. So when you leave a construction trades class, you don't have to go to math because you'll get a math credit. Or you can leave a culinary arts class and they've been working with an English teacher, ELA, and they can get an ELA credit. Being in school 8 hours is based off the work day of a parent, which is a babysitting process. Kids don't need to be in school 8 hours, period. They need to be able to garner skills, infuse in the Common Core, and be able to go out into their field and enter into their passion in the workforce. And it's okay if it starts in the 9th and 10th grade. It's okay. That's it.
If I can interject real quick, thank you, Mr. McGhee. I echo that twice. Everything he's speaking to when you talk about reducing the gap in education from, like, say, COVID, even pre-COVID, we were still at a large gap. But one, like you said, the literacy and numeracy program that we have to instill at younger ages, incorporating the parents, even here at MAN, we have a parent literacy night where it comes down to, in order to become a better reader, you just got to read. And when we speak to those things of, reducing the gap, we have to make things literate, we have to make it common, and we have to make bridging the gap, like taking what they want to be. Exactly, because it's not always about education. Sometimes it's just about your imagination. Because when you want to see it and you want to be it, then that will push you to do more mathematics. If you want to say you want to be an astronaut, if you want to be a pilot, you will say these are the things you need. Because sometimes when you look at the curriculum as a whole, it's not relevant to what's really going on in the real world. When we talk about investment, when we talk about the NASDAQ, we talk about those things that help build, our community up. And we talk about, Mr. McGhee stated largely about ownership. You can't possess it unless you own it, and you can't own it unless you possess it. So we have to push forward and helping our students see that, being in elementary right now, how many times I've heard young kids say, I want to be a doctor, but I don't like science. That don't go together. I like this, but it's like we have to show them and connect. For example, when he talk about percentages, and I ask kids, they don't even have those small experiences of, like, saying, if I have a check and I go get something to eat with my family and the bill is $100 and we're gonna leave a 20% gratuity. One, gratuity, they don't know. Percentage, how do I calculate that? We have to build that bridge from the sky up above to the ground we walk on, so they can see, I can do this, but we have to put it in common place, that they see it in common language each and every day, because we all understand struggle. We all understand that, we're losing the battle of education right here, right now. We have to be on the front lines, and also we got to be the last line of defense, so we can push kids to the forefront, to be new leaders, to shift their paradigm and their thinking. Because I tell students all the time, everybody can't be a YouTube influencer. We need doctors too. So we got to be in that space of shifting of how they see themselves, how they see the world, so they can see that they can be the next doctor, the next Dr. King, the next Mr. McGhee, the next Mr. Elvin, Mr. Johnston. They can be that. They just have to put forth the energy and effort and not be so lazy. Because I ain't gonna lie, a lot of our kids are lazy. Let's call it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mr. Elvin?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. I mean, these two gentlemen are so dynamic. I don't know if I need to say anything else on that subject, but I will note that all of our school districts received some money to address additional money to address learning loss, and it's important that we're putting those dollars in the right space. I've seen some districts just use that money to coax teachers from other districts and throw money at them and say, here's a $10,000 signing bonus. Not that our teachers and educators don't deserve a signing bonus, but what else are you doing to address learning loss? Because that was the whole focus of it, right? What are you putting in place? Who are you hiring? You just hiring normal teachers? Are you hiring teachers in critical shortage areas? Are you hiring interventionalists, people who can just work with small groups of students? When I say small, 2, 3, 4 students at a time, to try to catch them up to where some of their peers already are, so we can get them back to where they need to be. Regular assessments. What kind of assessments are you doing? Are you waiting for the state to assess, or are you putting your own assessments in place so that you can get a glimpse of where they are and help them before the state gives you the data the next year, or whatever the case may be? Those things are pivotal as well, in my opinion.
Gentlemen, I want to sincerely thank each of you for joining us. We're at the close of our town hall today. We appreciate your time, and thank you all so much for joining us. Before we close, I do have a few more announcements for the audience. As a reminder, for anyone in our community who may be experiencing a need, United Way's 211 helpline remains available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This includes resources like food, utility assistance, tax assistance, and much more. We always maintain a running list of available sources and services in the community and can connect you to the support that you need. You can also look up resources in your area by using our 211 resource database at unitedwaysem.org/211. If you're looking for opportunities to get involved in the community as a volunteer, United Way's volunteer portal can help. Our online portal lets you search volunteer opportunities that best match your abilities, needs, and interests. It even lets you set up alerts for the types of volunteer projects your organizations care about the most. It's free and easy way to sign up. To learn more about the initiatives, please visit unitedwaysem.org/volunteer to get started. Be sure to join us next Wednesday, March 8th, for a Women in Nonprofit Leadership Town Hall in recognition of International Women's Day. We'll be joined by Detroit Disability Power, Black Mothers Breastfeeding Association, and the Pure Heart Foundation for this panel discussion on equity in the nonprofit sector. To stay updated on our upcoming topics and watch replays of previous town halls, please visit unitedwaysem.org/virtual town halls. The website is also included in the chat box. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you soon. Stay safe and continue to live united. Thank you.